All right, so home stretch, the last 34 uh, items on Rolling Stone's list of the greatest 100 album covers of all time. But hopefully you folks have seen episodes one and two. We've gone through 66 of them. We got the last 34 this time. We'll just go ahead and get started here pretty quick. But before we start, uh, you longtime viewers of the Bog Panda channel are very familiar with the lie counter. The lie counter is something I was forced to do uh, to keep track of the number of lies that Mike says in a show, which um, fortunately,
Allegedly.
since it's a virtual, it doesn't say alleged lie counter, it says lie counter. I know you've
Allegedly.
debated sometimes if something was a lie or not, but he who edits decides. And so that's me. And the lie counter, fortunately, it's a virtual counter. So if it was mechanical, I'm not sure I'd have all the drums I needed to spin to get to the numbers sometimes that Mike could get to in a show, but it works out well to keep track of. Not so relevant for these shows, but uh, Mike, being the knowledgeable guy he is, has lots of things to offer as we go through there. When he's not either being a corporate shill or self-promoting, but occasionally he provides other insights as well. So what I'm adding here, this is more bitterness from recent edits of our previous album shows. I'm adding a new counter, and it's got a super easy acronym. It's the SMSTM counter. And so we'll have that present, and I will keep it going during this show. And that stands for that stuff Mike says that makes me work more on the edit. So that's what it's an abbreviation for.
You're going to hate the end of this.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You say that like oh, really?
I
Oh
hate
no.
it so much.
So we'll go ahead and get started. For me to keep track, because every once in a while, uh, shockingly enough, I get confused. And I was like, okay, did Mike lead this one? Because we go back and forth on who starts commentary on it. I think super easy way for me to remember this time through sharing some inner dialogue for you folks is that Mike's odd. So Mike will be doing all the odd numbers there. So that seems very natural to me that Mike's odd. So we'll do that. Anyway, so that means I get to start with Talking Heads Remain in the Light, which apparently has a little bit of background with like some military computers and some things and mapping, but it was taking some photos, desaturating them, adding some fine pixelated masks to it, as you can see there. Um, I fully support this being on the list. Um, I might have had it a little more towards the middle, but I'll support it. The 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 absolute clincher for me was flipping the A's in Talking Heads was just I thought a really cool touch. So I support this inclusion. Might have had it a titch lower, but not really quibbling much. So number 34, Rolling Stone. I'm in. Let's hear what Mike has to say.
Yeah, I don't disagree with this being on the list. Again, like Kelly said, I probably wouldn't put it this high on the list, but it's a super memorable album cover. I saw this when I was a kid. It always stuck with me long before I knew who Talking Heads were, before I was familiar with any of their music. So it more than did its job as an album cover.
50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. Elvis's gold records. I'm a no on this one for its inclusion. First of all, it feels as if they missed the memo because there's multiple Elvises, but I think they're talking about the fans, unless they're, I guess, maybe talking about his gold records. I don't know, and that's why there are multiple Elvises on there. But there's very little I like about this at all. Um, Although, if I were to have a gold lame suit, no, I wouldn't even get one like this. So no, there's nothing I like about this album cover. Not on the list. No vote here. But I wasn't supposed to go first. Damn it. Mike, what do you think about this one?
I was wondering that the whole time. So this might surprise people. overall, I kind of like Elvis. This is a compilation album. I am familiar with this. It's a famous one. I don't really know why this one, this one's any more famous than it. I guess people are really drawn to this multiple Elvis standee image that's on here. This was also stolen by Bon Jovi, who I don't like at all. They did a greatest hits record that was, I believe, it's called 100 Million Bon Jovi Fans Can't Be Wrong, that had a similar kind of cover. So I would never self promote, as Kelly has accused me of. That's just not a thing that I would do. But I should mention, I plan on recreating this cover for a promo ad or something at some point for the Rust Belt, because we had already passed. We were going to do it when we hit 50 million streams, which we already passed. We're going to be passing, we're about to pass at the time we're recording this 100 million streams, but I don't want to be associated with Bon Jovi in any way. So maybe at 150 million, we'll do like an ad that's like 150 million Rust Belt fans can't be wrong. Bon Jovi, like dot dot dot. So just give you some more editing on there to deal
Yeah, and you can flip the O in Bon Jovi, so that'll be cool.
with.
That'll that'll be going forward there. So, all right. So I'm gonna lead off on the next one too. And again, it wasn't that I dislike Elvis. If you remembered the memo, we're talking about the album covers. So,
Right. No, exactly. And that's what I said. I don't like this, but I kind of like Elvis overall.
all right. Yes, relayer. Um, so sure. I mean, it's weird because like this is every Yes album cover, for the most part. So there's a very kind of strong aesthetic that they have going there. It is a creative one and an interesting one. It's kind of got the fantasy deal going there. The horsemen are a little hard to pick up on the Fortress Glacier side things that are there, but um, I don't know how you if you decided okay, yes, needs to be in the top 100 albums of all time. I don't know how you what distinction you'd make between the covers and all that. So if they merit it, I think it's certainly an impressive cover. So if you buy into there needs to be a yes on this list, yeah, this one's as good as any for me. So I'll tolerate it. Your thoughts?
I knew a guy who played with my band Pagan for a while who was obsessed with Yes. He had Yes tattoos and everything. Just a level of fandom for Yes that I've just never experienced before or since. That being said, I'm very unfamiliar with just his catalog other than the few things that he played for me. But this album, so I'm indifferent to them as a band. This album cover, to Kelly's point, might as well just say prog rock album on it because it looks like a million other prog rock album covers. So I don't, like Kelly said, I don't know how you differentiate this from every other prog rock album that looks very similar to this.
This is an odd number. That means Mike talks first. Mike, go ahead.
So I like Bowie, and I believe Kelly does. I can speak for Kelly here and say we're both Bowie fans. Um, we spoke about Aladdin Sane, or was it no Diamond Dogs
Diamond
was
Dogs.
on this one. Yeah, Diamond Dogs was on this one. And how we weren't super big fans of that one. I think this is a great album cover. I know it's just a picture of the artist again, but I think it's just really well done. And it is something that kind of stuck with me. I still don't think this is Bowie's best album cover. And before everybody gets mad, I'm not saying this is a bad album, but like Kelly said, we're not talking about the albums, we're talking about the album covers. I still don't think this is Bowie's best album cover. I think Outside is. And I know people don't like that album as a whole, but again, we're talking about the cover artwork. So I do like this, but I think Outside is a better album
Yeah, and I'd say, I mean, so this is a good one. I think, but he's had a lot of good ones because other ones I'd throw out is Black Star is a
cover. Yeah.
pretty cool cover, and Scary Monsters isn't bad either. So, um, but I don't hate it. It can be on there. From the Marvel universe. Mad villain, mad villainy. Um, this goes into cool. Not sure why it's on this list. So I is a pretty cool album cover. I'll give it that. Does it stand on the shoulders of many other albums or above many other albums? I don't know about that. It's a pretty cool cover though. I'll give it that. I'm not sure it's top 100 for me. So a question mark for me on its inclusion.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. This is a really popular album. So I think this is another one of those examples of something making on here because it's an important album rather than necessarily the album cover. This is a really good image, but it's just a picture of the rapper MF Doom, who is one of the members of Man Villain. I would say if you were going to go with one of his album covers, there are better ones out there. His Danger Doom album, I would throw out as a better example, just to give Kelly more work to stick stuff in there and add to his new counter. But yeah, this is just a picture of MF Doom. So it's a good one, but it's just a picture of him.
Mike?
I wasn't sure if you were going to take it.
Yeah.
I love the Sex Pistols. I hate this yellow color in the cover. I do think this is a good album cover because I think it's got the cutout logo, which I've always liked the Sex Pistols logo that looks like cutout letters, like a ransom note kind of thing. And it's just kind of simple and I'm fine with all of it except for the yellow. I just don't like the yellow. But that's nitpicking. Again, it's a great album. I'm a big Sex Pistols fan. Your thoughts, Kelly?
So I'm not a yellowist like you are. I feel that we should treat all colors equally, but I mean that's not how you roll. So so I think you've admitted that pretty openly. And so I don't have a problem with the yellow. I think this is a great album cover. I agree. The Sex Pistols logo is accurate to the band and pretty great overall. So it's definitely fully support its inclusion and its relative location on the list. So Mike mentioned this album cover, I believe, in one of our other hour plus long segments going through these. Um, Rolling Stones Sticky Fingers with a working zipper. Um, it's so yeah. I think you've got. I think if you're doing top 100, this is, originally an Andy Warhol idea. More from him later. Um, of the stuff that's included on the list from him, I think this is the better of the two. Uh, I did, one of my primary concerns, so we say, well, we're not doing on whether we like the album or not. It's about the artistic execution of the album cover. But uh, practicality comes into mind. And when you're stacking your records, when you're organizing them, and you're needing to deal with a zipper, that doesn't seem right to me. And they did actually in the write up mention that they ran into some problems initially because depending on the location of the zipper, it was starting to dent the vinyl and damage the grooves when they build a big stack. So it had to be strategically placed um, uh, so that it would hit the label and not the grooves of the record, which doesn't seem like sound packaging to me. so but practicality aside, certainly an iconic album cover and clever concept, and so no arguments for me on that.
Yeah, it's an iconic album cover. Not practical, like Kelly said with the zipper, but I'm fine with gimmicks if they're cool. So this was a good gimmick. And I'll send Kelly a photo just to make his job a little bit easier. I recreated this, a special edition vinyl that I was a producer on of a compilation album. We recreated this, but it's like a gang member with a baseball bat, as kind of a play off of this. So I'm a fan.
And you take the bat away from the gang member. Is that how the cover works?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Um, I have full control over my odds and evens at this point, Mike. So you can drop the whole. I wasn't sure if you're going
I
to say something and yak, yak, yak. Just when the odd one comes up, start talking. So go ahead.
I love Prince like a lot. One of my favorite artists. Just a huge fan. Some of his albums I think are among the best albums. Like a lot of artists who are super prolific, though I don't love everything that he did. And I don't love some of his visuals. I do think he focused a lot more on the music than album covers sometimes. I hate this album cover. I don't I don't think this is good. Again just a picture of him. I don't know, maybe I don't see the appeal of Prince and I'm not the target audience for this. But as a Prince fan, I just don't like this album cover. He has much better album covers. I would say Chaos and Disorder if you're going to put a Prince album cover on here, just to, more work for Kelly. But I don't like this album cover. Kelly?
Yeah, so one, I'm grateful that the cosplay community has never you know turned a strong eye to this album cover and said, and you had a bunch of uh, pasty 40-year-old white guys walking around with Prince's outfit because I don't think it would work. I don't think it's a look that translates here. Very few people could pull this look off. Um, he's kind of pulling the look off. I don't really like the look. I just it's the cover's too busy too for me. Don't Not a fan of the typography on this one. So um it it gets your attention, but in terms of just like a real artistic clever execution, I'm less enthusiastic about this particular cover. Okay, so these are the places I need to lean on Mike. Am I supposed to say SZA or Saza?
SZA.
SZA. So I wouldn't have got it either way. Oh, I get it. So yeah, it's just Um, SOS, kind of recreating a little bit of the Lady Diana pose pre Paris car drive. So it not immediately. I mean, she's like not jumping into the car, but So uh, we talked about a couple of these before. Always harkening back a little bit to Tom Petty, Heartbreakers album cover on the worst albums section, where it's like, when an album cover looks almost like a snapshot, is it a great album cover? I'm kind of there a little bit. This is it. Yeah, there's a little bit of kind of emotion and feeling on this, but you could accomplish that with a snapshot too. So I'm just not a bad album cover. Kind of cool, as a matter of fact, with the ocean encompassing the whole album cover itself, or kind of framed in it. That's pretty cool. Um, if it stays on the list for me, it's very early in the list. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same place as Kelly. I don't dislike this at all. I think the framing of it's cool with her kind of hanging over the giant ocean. That takes up the rest of the album cover. However, I do feel like this is one of those examples of something that was put on there because they want to make it relevant. So they're putting a current artist on there. Not that this is bad in any way, and I have no problem with her as an artist. This hasn't stood the test of time yet to me to be on a list like this. Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. So I'm going to say I don't like this, but it belongs on. It's an iconic album cover. This was such a huge album. This image was everywhere. Even though this album is a little bit before my time, it was still everywhere as a kid. This was just a ubiquitous image. So I don't like the image. I don't think it's well done, but it should probably be on here.
So I I think it belongs on here. I'm what I continue to say. I mean, whether it's the topography, it's well executed, and an iconic album cover, very kind of cool executed. The thing that up until show prep, my brain had successfully blocked out the fact of the two balls hanging down off the male character. If you had told me, do you know those are there? I would have said, what are you talking about? I would have had every other portion of this cover in my mind, but that element would not have. I've just blocked it out until now. Now it's no longer blocked out, and it's basically all I see. And so I'm not. I think they should go with what my brain blocked out and just Photoshop that out, and they have even a better, maybe be up to 24 with that, if I was right. But yeah, no, I think it's a great cover. So certainly belongs on the list. Dirty Old Bastard, Return to the 36 Chambers, the dirty version. Torn on this one because originally um, I wasn't uh, I wasn't sold that a ID card-ish representation was like breaking huge grounds from album cover lore, but it is food coupons. It's the city of the Brooklyn Zoo. Um, I'll keep it on the list. I think it's I'm all right now after where my gut reaction initially was nah, this isn't one, but after checking it out a little bit more, pretty cool. I'll stay with it.
I absolutely love this album cover. It should be even higher. We've discussed on the show before my huge, huge love of Wu-Tang Clan. This was Old Dirty Bastard's first solo record. This is his actual food stamp card that they used for the album cover. They obviously changed some of the type on there, but this is his real food stamp card. And he very famously did an interview on MTV where he was walking around his neighborhood and they were interviewing him and different people. And he showed the food stamp card and went and purchased food with it, which got him into trouble because there was the a member of the multi-platinum Wu-Tang Clan who apparently still had a working food stamp card that he was using. So he got into some trouble for it, but it's an iconic image and an iconic clip that's associated with it. So I totally agree that this should be on here. No, Kelly.
So where I struggle, again, this is a little bit of Mike's colorist issues coming up again. His unwillingness to treat all colors the same. I mean, what more evidence do we need? Because if you folks might recall, very beginning of this list was Spinal Tap's "Smell the Glove" album cover, which is all black. Uh, Mike didn't seem to have a problem with that, but you know, now it's a no. Um,
So that was all black. This isn't. This says the Beatles on it.
okay,
Also, it's not called the White Album. I know that's what everybody calls it, but it's just self-titled. It's called The Beatles. It's
okay,
just it's just the words The Beatles with a white background. It's lazy. There's no story behind it like there is with the Spinal Tap thing, even if it's a fictional story. It has it has more meat to it. This isn't called the White Album. It's just called The Beatles. It's just white and it says The Beatles on it.
Um, again, because of my view on more equal treatment of color, um, I'm going to keep it on the list. I will put "Smell the Glove" ahead of it though, uh, and uh, and we'll just leave it at that. Hopefully, hopefully there will be a lot more coming from Mike around some of his issues. Um, the Ramones, which it was actually called this, not the guy standing in front of a brick wall album. um, apparently, they had tried to do was kind of like almost some Beatle parody looks for their first album cover. Nothing was working out well, and so they went to kind of through a I don't know if it was for a magazine or some other photo shoot, but they kind of had taken a pretty casual group shot. Um, I'd keep it because Ramon's a pretty important band. This captures them really well. It's well composed photo. Um, it is the artist, but it's kind of it tells you a little bit about the artist, and it's consistent with what the artist is all about. Mike's kind of mentioned on a couple of previous ones to say the album sounds like the cover looks. I think this is right in that vein for me. So I fully support this staying on the list and about where it's at.
Yeah, I'm about the same on that. There's been a few albums where I've just said this is just a picture of the band or a picture of the artist. Yeah, that's what this is too. But to Kelly's point, I do think you understand what this album is when you look at it. So it accomplishes everything. It shows you the artist. You kind of get a feel for what you're about to get into, and it's become such an iconic image over the years. So I'm fine with it on the list and where it's at. So Bad Bunny, no. Kelly.
Uh, you gonna expand on that at all?
So again, nothing against Bad Bunny, but Bad Bunny's on this list because they're a current artist and they're trying to draw younger people to this. This is a relatively newer album. Bad Bunny is a current artist. This hasn't had a chance to stand the test of time yet. And I'll be honest with you, I have nothing against this album cover, but for me, I don't know that this would grab me if record stores still existed. I don't know that I would pick this up and give it a blind buy based on the album cover.
I'm sure you're not mocking when you say blind by the fact that the character on here has three eyes. I'm sure that's not a shot at them. Although at this point in the review, many people are probably wondering, is that some of your other motivations on there? But yeah, and it's so newer album. I think probably the thing that bugs me the most about this one, because I don't think it belongs on the list, is the hey, Stranger Things was a thing. Let's echo. Let's be far less. I just think it's too derivative of some of that as well, and so I just doesn't do much for me. So I'm supportive of your no. Black Sabbath, 1970 belongs on the list. Mona Lisa's had a tough run here, as you can see. Um, uh, the saturation, the layout, the lettering, it's all good. Uh, very, very supportive. So I guess said another way, yes. Mike,
Also, yes. So I love Black Sabbath, one of my favorite bands. I got to meet them when I was a kid. It was really cool. And then in one of my promo videos, their drummer graciously appeared in one of their drummers graciously appeared in one of our promo videos. So I have a long history of Black Sabbath, love this band. The very first Pagan EP, the cover art was inspired by this. And I've done numerous artwork and logo things that are direct tiebacks to Black Sabbath because they were really influential on me. So I love this album cover. I actually don't think this is necessarily their best album cover, but I like most of their artwork. No, this one,
So
this
I'm
one
not
is
going to be
tough.
able to increment the counter, but I want folks to know that most of the time, after somebody got all snotty about me jumping in on one of his to begin with, um, I've had to edit out a number of very long pauses as Mike gathers himself before he goes butcher. So I can't increment the counter. It is more work for me in the edit, but if you see the counter kind of go up for an unexplained reason, it's because I had to do that. Go ahead, Mike.
So this one's tough for me because I'm a big Outcast fan. I like this album a lot too. This is Outcast Stankonia. This is a really good album, and I'm a big, big Outcast fan. I don't necessarily love this album cover though. Um, it's cool. Like I like the flag behind them and everything. Like the black and white flag is really cool. It's a good photo of them, but I don't think this is their best album cover, even though I think this is a really great album. I do wonder a little bit if this is, Outcast should be on most lists and this is a great album. Is that why this is on here and so high, or is it because they really loved this particular album cover?
Yeah, and as we've talked about multiple times, it's about the cover. It's not about the music. It's not about the artist. Those types of things. So, don't I don't quibble with the quality of this album. It's important to do that. Um, I'm just, uh, I'm not sold on this cover as being kind of a top 100. Just doesn't do it for me. Who's next? Um, Fun fact. Only one band member was able to successfully urinate on the brick on the big pillar there, um, which is Pete Townsend. Not surprising, I guess. But they had to simulate it for the other folks. But uh, while somewhat off-putting, uh, I'm a big Who fan. Uh, the more Pete Townsend talks in his later years, it starts to chip away at that a little bit, but I really appreciate their music. Um, Probably John Entwistle. I mean, Entwistle and Moon were my favorite parts of the band. But so trying to set that fandom aside, I do think this is a unique and eye-catching cover and belongs on the list. Top 20 might be a little generous, but I'm good with it being on the list.
Yeah, I would say the same. I don't know if I would put this top 20, but it's eye catching. That was a great way to put it. Because this is, in the fictional record stores that we, fictional to kids now that we used to have. This would definitely catch your attention walking by it on a rack. It's a striking image before you even kind of hone in on it and understand what you're looking at. So, I mean, it should probably be on this list. I enjoy the Who's music as well. Yes. Um, so this is like the Bob Dylan one for me, where yeah, it's just a picture of the artist, but I do feel like this kind of it's a great image of them. Like it's probably the best image of Carole King. And I this looks like this album sounds, if you've ever heard Tapestry before. This so like the Ramones, like the Dylan album that was on here. This yeah, I would put this on here. I don't know if this would be my placement of it, but I could see it on a top 100 list. You, sir?
I'm not as sold that it'd make a top 100. I agree wholeheartedly. It doesn't feel like a top 20, but I'm not even sure it belongs on the list overall. It's the cat. Cat bugs me. He's no greyhound. He's no blur greyhound. Those,
That's fair. That is not a greyhound. That is true, sir.
yeah, those greyhounds would eat him for lunch. So I think the blur grey, at a minimum, they should be ahead of this cat. So I'll leave it at that. Let it stay on the list, but it needs to get that cat needs to be behind the greyhounds, my opinion. Nas Illmatic, double exposure 101 for me. A little bit. I mean, I do get kind of, the kid, I'm guessing, the kid, this, where the kid's from. And so that's a kind of a, um, uh, and the stoicness and all that. So I get some of that. Actually, the logo stuff's pretty great. The typography here is pretty cool. Uh, so I probably didn't give that enough credit on my initial reaction. So I will say, okay, stay on the list. Just get back, get back. You can be ahead of the cat, behind the greyhounds. So that's where I'm at.
So this is technically a child and not a baby, but it's dangerously close to that thing that I don't like that people do. I give this one a pass though, for a couple of reasons. One, that is not. It's not just some random child that's on there. It's not him at the age he made this album, but it is Nas. And I like double exposures as we've covered. And that is a double exposure of the project building that he grew up in. So it is a photo of him as a kid, double exposed with the project building he grew up in. So uh, it gets a point. It gets the point across of what you're about to hear. This was his debut album. This is another one that is a really important album, especially I would say in the history of East Coast rap in particular. But I think it's a good image, and I give it a pass on a child on the cover because it is the artist. No, I did. I didn't pause. So this is Beyonce's Jay Z Cheated on Me album. I see this pop up on almost everything, and it is just a picture of her wearing a fur coat with the top of her head with her hair braided. This is not a great image. You can't even, if you didn't know what this was, you wouldn't know who the artist was. This is on here because people like the album and the sort of female empowerment message behind it. I don't believe that people think that this is the best image for the cover. This isn't even like a photo shoot. This is a screen grab from a music video that was associated with the album. No.
So um, yeah, no, and I was going to go some ways with that. I'm not going to, but I don't agree with Mike entirely on this one. My no, I'm not even going to be able to get to a no on it. I think I can I can live with this. I can live in a world where this is in the top 100 album covers. Again, now not top 15, not the placements right. I with the exception of the one part that makes me waver a little bit is the fact that this wasn't composed. This was um the film was stopped. They were just this is a screen grab. So that for some reason starts to limit it a little bit. I thought kind of um the kind of the color saturation stuff was kind of cool. The It's not graphicness per se, but it's just there were some things like, okay, I find it at least interesting, but I wouldn't have it in its rarefied air that it's listed here this high up. So there. So
No, they have it here because of the album. And like Kelly and I both said, that's not what this list is.
okay, these guys never really came to anything. I think they're called Beatles, and it's Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Or is anyone surprised to see this on the list? Probably for good reason. It is interesting, that the artists that put this together did solicit input, and some of the input was taken, some of it was not. There are a couple key players that are either allegedly behind people where you can't see them or were excluded, including Hitler and Jesus. Um, I think if you're doing a list of top album covers, how can you not? This has been parodied. Mothers of Invention did a version of it that was harrowing looking, and there's that. Um, and any album cover that's got Oscar Wilde on it, you gotta give it some props. So I'm supportive of it, both not only being on the list, but being in the general the neighborhood it's in seems okay by me.
I'll give you that this is iconic, and I'll add any album cover with Aleister Crowley on it is good. But no, I don't like the Beatles, but I'm putting aside my dislike of this band. As we established previously on the worst albums list, I don't like collage album covers. I don't like it. I don't think they look good. This is particularly, and I get it, like it's part of the thing with it, but it's just very busy and there's lots of garish clashing colors and things like that. And I just no, I don't like to look at it. And then it's the Beatles, so I don't want to hear it. It does the exact opposite of everything that a good album cover should do. It grabs my attention in a bad way and makes me not want to look at it. But if I do stare at it long enough, I realize it's music that I don't want to hear. Also, I own a piece of Aleister Crowley's house.
And that's why you don't like this cover.
No, I mentioned that Aleister Crowley is one of the people
Yeah.
on there, which he is. Aleister Crowley's house near Loch Ness burned down. And I requested a piece of the house, which they did send to me many months later. I had forgotten that I'd asked for this. My wife had just put a white tablecloth over our very large dining room table that we have. I got a package and I was like, oh, I wonder what's this? What this is from Scotland. Ripped the thing off, reached inside, pulled it out. His house burned down, flung this piece of wood, ash rained down everywhere, all over the white table cover, all over my wife. And I believe her first response was, please tell me that's not people.
Fair question to ask. Fair question
So
to ask. But yet again, color was a big issue for you on this one. So, okay. Noted. Interesting trend.
whole live through this. Yeah, I like this. I like this album cover. I like the kind of, the washed out, poorly done prom picture look, but she's, going crazy. Yeah, I like, and this again does look like this album sounds. So, sir,
Yeah, I really can't add much. I agree with everything you kind of raised there. Um, for a split second, knew that Courtney Love has gone through a transformation over the years. And then for a split second, I thought, wow, it was even bigger than I thought. But but no, this is a model, and so yeah, but a pretty great cover. Good to have it on the list. I definitely would say it looks like it sounds. Kendrick Lamar to Pimp a Butterfly. Just a nice, calm, non-provocative family photo. Folks out on the lawn, dead white judge in the front. Um, Ridiculously good album cover as far as I'm concerned. So I'll very comfortably have this on the list, and um, I know you've made the point several times around. Yeah, they may have skewed a little bit towards make sure that some more contemporary folks are represented. That might have been a little bit in play here, but also I think this one will hold up. You know, this one will hold up, and it worthy position. So pretty impressive, I think. So thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I think this is a great album cover. Again, Kendrick Lamar is, a more contemporary artist, but I think this is a great album cover. I think it will hold up. I'm not a huge Kendrick Lamar fan personally, but I do hate Drake. So for that reason alone, I would probably put it around this number. So yeah, and I stand by Kendrick Lamar's decision when he got to headline the Super Bowl halftime. And I mentioned headline because he's played the Super Bowl halftime show before, but as a supporting artist. Now that he got to headline it, he did not take the high road and still use it as a platform to mock Drake, which I fully support people not taking the high road. So Velvet Underground and Nico from the Velvet Underground featuring Nico. Um, the famous Andy Warhol album cover. Yeah, I agree with this being on here. So I'm an Andy Warhol fan overall, I would say. I'm a huge fan of this album. I think this is a great album. But that's not what the list is. But I am an Andy Warhol fan, so I do like the image. Just like the Sticky Fingers album, this is a gimmick image as well. You peel the banana, and you peel the banana peel, and there's a pink banana underneath. I have been told that there's some sort of symbolism to that, which I don't understand, of course. Kelly, what are your thoughts on this?
Um, yeah, I mean it's um, more even more so than my arguments on it's like the Sergeant Pepper one, where it's like, how do you not? This one is kind of so even more so. It's kind of clearly established itself in there and gets bonus points by not mentioning the band on the front cover.
And
We
I
get
like that Andy Warhol's name is on here, but not the Velvet Underground.
so so that's a move. So it's a good thing there. Um, yep, fully sport. Okay. So we're back to babies again. Um, I mean, I get it. I get the intent ish sort of here. Um, and there's cleverness to the photo shoot as well, uh, particularly from like a lighting perspective and all that. But um, I don't like it. And so I can't have 100 greatest covers all the time, something that I just genuinely don't like. And so it's a no for me.
So, I mean, it's an iconic album cover. This was a huge record, even while Kurt Cobain was alive. Of course, like most artists, after his death, the band got even bigger. But even while he was alive, this was a huge album. It's an iconic album cover. I don't like album covers with babies on them. I don't understand this. I don't like it. I, this isn't the band. Not only is this not anybody related to the band, like the Nas album cover was at least Nas as a kid. This guy has tried suing them multiple times as an adult over this. So the whole thing is weird. And there is the only thing I'll say of note, and again, nothing against this album. It's the album cover. That's what the list is. BG Mac, the rapper, did a parody version of this for his album Gutter Water that I thought was funny. So I like Cyndi Lauper, like as an artist and also as a person. I got to meet Cyndi Lauper. She was really nice. So I like Cyndi Lauper. That being said, I don't think this is a great album cover personally. It's just kind of too busy for me. Like I just feel like I don't know where my eye is supposed to go. And I mean, I guess that was the era though of just too much of everything on there. But I feel like Cyndi Lauper has better album covers than this. You, sir?
I'm a bigger fan of Cindy Lauper than you. No, I'm a bigger fan of this cover than you are. Um, the font dangerously approaches papyrus, which just is a problem. So I'll forgive it because it's not, but it's dangerously close.
Do you
Um,
not like Papyrus?
no,
The greatest font of all time?
it's the Comic Sans of fonts. Wrap your head around that.
That was fantastic.
The but That's a t-shirt. We'll have to work on that. But Again, there's and that's probably we're back to a lot of color on this. We've established some things on that, but I agree. There's a lot going on, but there's a lot going on with Cyndi Lauper, and so again, a little bit album. I do think this album kind of cover kind of looks like she sounds a little bit to a degree.
That is a good point. So I just
It-
had to look it up on my phone real quick, but I would say just give Kelly more work because now I'm just trying to run up this counter as much as possible. I would say 12 Guns is a better album cover. I couldn't remember the name of it. So we're gonna just throw that out there.
yeah, maybe I should have not told you about the counter, but all right, we'll move on. Okay, biggest struggle for me because I say, gotta be fair. Just because they're the greatest band of all time doesn't mean that they have the greatest album cover of all time. But I only have to admit they have the eighth greatest album cover of all time, and I can do that. It was a crazy good album cover. I love it. It made me love the Clash even more. It Kind of a cute, fun little thing that the Elvis Presley font treatment is applied across it as well as a fun little clash of genres there. And so I am so okay with this one.
Yeah, same. I mean, I like the Clash as well. Not as much. Kelly's a bigger fan, but I do like the Clash a lot. This is just a great image. It's an iconic album cover. I like the tie-in to Elvis. But what I like about it too is while it is kind of having fun with the whole Elvis thing, you don't have to know that to enjoy this album cover. And that's where I think little Easter eggs like that work best is when you don't have to understand it to still appreciate this.
Yeah, yeah, it would have worked just fine had there not been the Elvis album.
So Funkadelic, Maggot Brain. So I'm going to throw out that I'm a Funkadelic fan. I don't love this album cover. It is, I mean, it does catch your attention though. I remember seeing this one as a kid too. So it definitely catches your attention. Redman, who I'm a big fan of, also did a kind of homage to this on his album cover. There is a dark side where he's buried like this and screaming. So I personally don't like this album cover. I like the album, but not the album cover. You, sir?
Yeah, it just did not resonate with me as much. Props to the model who was willing to not only be buried, but actually have maggots begin to enter her brain. This was part of the deal in the photo shoot, so she did a good job there. Couldn't have been fun for her, but yeah, I just it. Um, she looks too happy to have maggots in her brain, I think. I'm not sure. But yeah, it didn't click for me. And then there's a little bit of I don't know, I'm okay with the palette overall. So it's good over. So yeah, just not a fan. Um hmm, uh I don't know on this one. I'm pretty comfortable in saying not top 10. Um don't know if I'm comfortable kicking Patti Smith off the list with horses here. Um, this is another one where it's just the artist, but in my opinion, like the Ramones album, it's artist plus here. It's like, yeah, you get kind of a pretty good vibe of the artist on this. So I don't think they were wrong to include it in the top 100. I'm surprised it is ahead of London Calling and others. So that's where I'm at.
I completely agree with Kelly on this one. It is just a picture of the artist, but it's a good picture and it's an iconic image now, and it does give you a feel of what you're getting into with the album. So I'm fine with it being on the list, but for me, it wouldn't be this high on the list. I feel like this is pushed ahead by the album itself, which isn't what the list is. So I mentioned this on the worst list. I brought this up as a baby album cover that I was better with, but still don't like babies on album covers. Um, I thought that it was a little bit more clever because of the Ready to Die title and then putting a baby on the album cover. I still don't like babies on album covers though. Also, too, this has been reissued now with a different cover. So I'm I actually don't like the new album cover better, but I just don't like babies. This it stands out though. I like the white background. I do think it makes it stand out. I like the juxtaposition with the title, but the babies on album covers thing. We need to stop this. I don't know when this started, but it's just not a great idea. Your thoughts are?
Um, so I'm okay with babies. Maybe not on album covers, but you just did say, and I will immortalize that you don't like babies. So I'm gonna that'll be making its way around. Um, uh, Maybe a hard no episode, just right there. I don't know. Um, World Shortest Podcast. Like and subscribe to the Bog Panda channel. You can hear hard no, and maybe you'll hear the infamous Mike. I don't like babies. So we'll see. Um, yeah, I'm torn on this one. I'm gonna give it the treatment of the previous one. It's like, okay, you can have it on your list, Rolling Stone. I will allow it. You've placed it too high. Address. So we'll do that. Oh gosh, this would make an excellent T-shirt. Somebody ought to manufacture a few of those.
This should
Um,
be on the side of the van.
yeah, that would be awesome. Um, how can you not, so we talk to a certain degree about the album, the cover kind of reflecting what's in the album. To in an odd way, this does. This is not too far away from that. Um, it has become so connected to Pink Floyd, and just so even folks that are not even familiar with Dark Side of the Moon at all see, know, and recognize this. So it has impacted kind of just culture. People have picked it up. So this does feel like a top five for me. It seems like an easy pick to do, but I guess it's an easy pick because it's a right pick, so it does belong. So fully support inclusion and location.
Yeah, same. I mean, for everything Kelly just said, I feel like whether or not you like Pink Floyd or this album is irrelevant because it's how iconic this cover is. So it's really hard to argue with its inclusion or placement on here. Sly and the Family Stone, there's a riot going on. Um, I get it. I feel like if you were in a record store, you probably don't notice that the stars are like little explosions the first time you glance at it. So I feel like the message is probably lost on somebody casually walking by on it. It's definitely going to be lost if this is on a playlist on Spotify and it's, a quarter of an inch big on your phone. So while I get it. I get what they're going for, and I don't think it's a bad image in any way. I just think that it's going to be lost at a glance. And part of what makes something like the Pink Floyd thing so iconic is you see that you just instantly know what it is. Your thoughts, sir?
Um, so yeah, so I think it lacks the instant recognition of Dark Side of the Moon, 100%. Um, this is one I really struggle seeing this high up on the list. It I can again I could see it. I could understand the argument, but and then the field's black instead of blue, which is another thing that it's going to be super hard to pick up to the casual observer, particularly in a shrunk down state. So there's some interesting little subtleties going on here. Um, so I just struggle that to have it here at number three. Makes sense to have it on the list somewhere, but it just seems awful high to me. But my opinion. There's those Beatles again. Another culture heavy image. So, sometimes things have an impact and become memorable and they don't deserve it. This is one I think that fits that to a degree. I don't know whether it's the whole Paul is dead stuff that um, kind of gave this thing extra gas. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you don't include it somewhere. It seems like it's getting puffed up a little bit to be number two. Uh, uh, Again, I had a London Calling problem with that. I would argue, if it was just purely artistic execution and emotion, you put this up against London Calling, and even though would argue the music on London Calling gives Abbey Road a serious runs for its money. Um, I think the more powerful one's London Calling. Um, So I think by law we're required to have it up high, so I'm okay, I guess. I don't want to break the law.
No.
Breaking the law.
I don't like this. I don't like the Beatles, so it's hard not to be somewhat, you know, colored by that. But I just don't think this is a great album cover. Red Hot Chili Peppers did it better. So the Red Hot Chili Peppers Abbey Road EP is a better use of the space.
All right. So, Rolling Stones number one. An album and graphic that someone has mentioned previously on various incarnations and shows. And I think it's going to have a lot to say. So go ahead anytime you're ready.
I do. So yes, it's a great album cover. It's an iconic album cover. It 100% belongs at number one. So this is for the younger people. This is kind of where memes started. So since they're trying to make this relevant by putting a lot of newer artists, I'll make it relevant to younger audiences watching this. This is kind of the start of memes, is this album cover. So this album cover, this was a big album for the band. And it was already kind of an iconic album cover, and they started licensing the image for merchandise, and it it kind of blew up and went crazy. So pretty much any store you went into used this image on stuff. It got so big with the licensing, sort of like how Atari will license their brand out to everything. Disney, like the actual studio, like Disney theme parks and studios and stuff, did a Mickey. with this image on it, like officially licensed it from the band. there's a there's a unknown pleasures Mickey. And just to explain how absolutely batshit crazy that is, Joy Division is named after a Nazi brothel. And Mickey Mouse was 100% on board with this. Not the public domain Mickey Mouse that we're seeing pop up in slasher movies now. For real Disney. Disney theme parks. This has just been on everything. It's one of the most used images or iconic images related to an album, and it spawned one of the very first memes, which still persists to this day in various forms of the Name Three songs. And what that's born from is that there were millions of people buying any kind of product with this image on it who have absolutely no idea who Joy Division are or any of these songs or anything like that. So people started questioning, like, do you even know that this is an album or what this is from? Because as huge as this album is, the image eclipsed the band and album long ago. And they're a rock and roll Hall of Fame band. In fact, they're in there twice in a really weird decision the Hall of Fame made. So after two albums, their singer Ian Curtis committed suicide. The band decided to continue on and change their name to New Order. So they were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but both incarnations of the band were inducted at the same time into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So this is just a huge iconic thing. Ironically, as huge as this is as a t-shirt, and I absolutely love this album. It's one of my favorite albums. I never owned this t-shirt. As weird as that kind of is, since it is the meme and the t-shirt that was everywhere, including Disney. I just have to keep saying that because it's real. Look it up. um, Unfortunately, the singer of the band Amen, Casey Chaos, died in December, and I was able to. So he famously had a gigantic collection of t-shirts of bands of all different genres, mostly punk and metal and rock and stuff, but just a huge collection, t-shirts and merchandise and different things. And through our mutual friend Dean Carr, I now have Casey from Amen's Unknown Pleasures t-shirt here in the studio. So I will include a picture of that. So I actually have it framed. So now I do have that. I do have this t-shirt, the famous Unknown Pleasures t-shirt, but I actually have Casey from Amen's t-shirt that he wore on stage for this. Your thoughts, sir?
No, bunch of squiggles. Yeah, just it's a yeah. This album cover in Jackson Pollock, I got nothing. I got nothing but contempt for no. Um, I would minor quibble on the process is to would be to say unquestionably it's the only one that could be a number one. I don't know. I think there could be some other folks. Dark Side of the Moon, pretty good example. I think I've already kind of lobbied pretty hard for London Calling. You could at least have them in the conversation, but absolutely, if not at the top, very close to the top. Um, you know, the interesting tie here is that so two of these albums are at the top, Dark Side of the Moon and Joy Division here. Um, a lot of people don't pass the name three songs for Pink Floyd either. It's a different deal with Pink Floyd because it's just like people, well, I know that, I mean, here you go. That's Pink Floyd song. They would know it, where I think a lot of folks wouldn't know a Joy Division song and make that connection. But it was always kind of with the nebulousness of particularly the later Pink Floyd stuff. Sometimes people didn't know like Great Gig in the Sky or something like that. Um, but I would say there are going to be more winners on Name Three Pink Floyd songs and three Joy Division songs. So that's
100%.
fair. That is fair. So no, I think it's certainly not a misstep to have this at number one. So I can support that completely. Um, all right. So we've shared our thoughts. We have in the previous two shows uh, also come up with saying, hey, here's something that didn't make the list that we think should have. Some of us honor, let's just do one of those a show. Some of us kind of bend the rules a little bit.
I've just done one.
I just edited the first show where the Rust Belt album came up.
No, I was pointing that out. I wasn't saying that that
Yeah,
was
no. Yeah,
it's too new. That's later down the line, yes, that will be an iconic image.
okay. I these are additions. I don't anyway, go back, watch the first show. Um, if you want to save yourself an hour or so, jump towards the end because it occurs at the end like it is on this show. But we'll just see how Mike does today. So we'll have you go first, sir. So um, what, in addition to all the ones we've discussed, which one would you like to also uh, suggest people consider?
Well, I mean, now it's difficult because I don't want to say anything that would seem like I'm biased.
Of course not.
So, I, because like I want to say Cypress Hill's Temples of Boom, which has a cool image of a cloaked figure walking up a long stairwell to this ominous looking temple. It's really cool looking, but I mean, Cypress Hill contributed to the Evil Bong soundtrack, so it's going to seem like I'm biased or self promoting there, which I would never do. Or I could say, Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion, but there's double bias there because it's Guns N' Roses and also Mark Kastabi did the cover art for that. He's the brother of Paul Kastabi from Psychotica, who we're really close with. So I won't say that either. But you know what? I guess I have to throw out something just because I could rattle off album covers all day. But I'm gonna go with Psychotica's self-titled album. That is actually my favorite album cover of all time. Um, I wouldn't unseat Unknown Pleasures on this because I do think it's the most famous album cover, whether people know what it's from or not, just because the image is so iconic now. But my personal favorite album cover is the Psychotica self-titled album. I love the image of Pat on there in the kind of Jesus pose, but he's got claws and stuff. It's just always stuck with me since I saw it as a kid. And it was kind of a blind buy, that album for me. I'd seen a short interview with Pat in a music zine, and it didn't really get into their music or describe anything. And then I saw the album and I thought it was really cool. And I remembered seeing the name. So I picked it up. And then that led to decades of not only fandom, but knowing the band and working with them and different things like that. So it's hard to not sound biased, but it is my favorite album cover. Also, I did sneak in two other album covers. I don't know if you caught that. It was pretty subtle.
Yeah, yeah, caught it. Might even be a counter going during that. Hard to tell. So, at mild, actually nowhere near the self-promoting levels of Mr. Belinsky here, because it's just tangential at best, is where I'm going to go very, they're disappointed. And this is not only album cover, but title is Heat from a Wind Chill Factory, which, as you can see, the album cover is. We have a number of these things lurking in Illinois, unclear what they are. I think they're involved with refining something. I'm not sure, but a kind of solarized photo of one of those things there. So it's very Illinois. Very, these things are up around Chicago. This is a collection of local Chicago bands, and it was a collection of those songs, and it was put out under the title of Heat from a Wind Chill Factory, which my high school friend Steve Lambright, who you'll see on the back cover, his name and credit there, came up with the title for that, which I think one of the greatest concepts for an album name ever is Heat from a Wind Chill Factory. Fight me on that. And I actually also have, well, it's no famous T-shirt. I have a business card from Steve with his signature on it. Scarily Trumpian signature, I'm afraid.
I was gonna say that is a very Trump looking scene
has
from
has not
here.
aged well,
Very
but he
Trump
was
looking.
has not aged well. Didn't use a Sharpie for it, pretty sure. So I mean, it's unfortunate outcome there, um, but I have a business card, so it's no not quite your T-shirt story, but I do have Steve Lambright's business card, who's on the back of Heat from Wind Chill Factory, which is a pretty great cover. So we've shared our thoughts. Mike has shared his bias on certain things, which we won't go into again. Um, let us know what you think. And you agree with us, disagree with us. Do you have other suggestions that either we didn't cover? Mike wouldn't have covered it if he wasn't involved, but maybe the ones I brought up. Other suggestions if you really want to fight us on any of the calls that we've made on everything. Love to hear from you in the comments on that. Um, this is our kind of second big go round. I mean, we've done something on Nintendo 64 games, a little smaller list, but a couple of these top 100 best and worst albums. We'd love to hear from you in the comments whether you like that kind of content. Uh, they're uh, they're fun for us to do. A little more fun for Mike than me, but fun for both of us to do. Um, and like to hear from you if you would like to see us do some more of this kind of stuff. So, any closing thoughts, sir?
No, no, nothing else to add. I mean, we should make our own list and do our own list show at some point about something. So you guys should throw in the comments what you want to see us make a list about.
Top 100 Mike's self promotion moments. Uh, we could do that. It's going to be hard.
Have there
So
been any?
thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bog Panda.